Manage your expectations is the most repeated phrase in the Paralives community. It used to be second to only "there's no release date yet," but thankfully we've left that era. Now warning players to keep their expectations low has basically become the community's catchphrase. I've said it once, twice, honestly way too many times, and I still stand by it. We all know why it's important to keep our wish list reasonable, but the real question is, what expectations are we even supposed to have? Will there be story progression? Is there an attraction system? Can teens and kids have unique interactions like sleepovers or running away from home? Can we create our own worlds? And what about mods? All these questions really boil down to one thing: what's actually possible for early access? And to figure that out, here's a simple way to look at it. Ask yourself if each feature is core gameplay or expanded gameplay. Did I just make that up myself? Yes and no. So in my interpretation, what counts as core or expanded gameplay? Core gameplay is the foundation, the essential systems that define what a game is. It's the stuff the game can't function without. For example, in House Flipper 2, a game I absolutely adore, renovating and selling houses is core gameplay. Without it, there is no game. In Paralives, that might mean building homes, controlling parafolk, and managing their basic needs. Expanded gameplay, on the other hand, is everything that builds on top of that foundation. These features make the experience richer, but they aren't required for the game to work. Things like pets, cars, or niche story gameplay expand the world, but the game can still stand without them. Really, this definition can change depending on the game. Even two games in the same genre can have completely different priorities. The easiest way to figure out what core gameplay means for any game is to ask, what is this game trying to accomplish? You have to look at the developer's vision, the kind of experience they're designing the game to deliver at its most essential level. This is my take on what Paralives aims to do based on everything the devs have shared. It's a cozy, slow life sim that prioritizes creativity and personal storytelling, all while exploring new and unique ways to simulate everyday life. That means features you know from other life sims will often be experienced differently, leading to a distinct playing style. Okay, forgive me for the quick tone shift, but I was planning to use the need system, or rather wants, as an example of what made Paralives unique. So imagine my surprise when I find out they caved to community pressure and added traditional need bars. I only saw it through a comment and an official image showing the bars, but apparently they listened to feedback or whatever. Honestly, I'm so annoyed. I don't care what their reasoning was. I just really hope they didn't scrap the want system entirely. For what? So people can babysit their parents' needs? I mean this as respectfully as I can be right now, but some of y'all need to play more games. That system had so much potential. I get that things change during development, but if this game ends up watered down because players couldn't handle something new, that'll be so disappointing. Okay, mini rant over. We were discussing what Paralives is trying to accomplish. Hold on. Okay. Give me a second. Okay, I'm good. Okay. Taking a look at Paralives as a whole, everything about it feels soft, warm, and personal. It's a slower take on life simulation, one that focuses on the small moments that make everyday life feel meaningful. Paralives isn't trying to be a massive feature-packed sandbox. Instead, it's about depth over scale, zooming in on the quiet rhythm of daily life. Well, that's just my guess, really. This core versus expanded idea isn't official or confirmed by the devs. Think of this as a lens for figuring out which features we can expect in early access and which ones are more of a maybe later, maybe never kind of deal. Because honestly, isn't that what expectations are? Just guesses we hope the devs will eventually confirm? Okay, our what's realistic filter is on. Now let's jump into the community wish list everyone's been obsessing over. You tell me off the bat if you can decide if these features are core gameplay or expanded gameplay, specifically for Paralives and early access. Story progression. Players really want the world to feel alive, with families aging, moving, and changing all on their own. Multiplayer or co-op mode. Build together, visit other towns, share households, a true co-op life sim experience. Teen and child-specific interactions. More life stages that actually feel different with unique hobbies, struggles, and personality growth. Life events and milestones, things like first day at school, graduation, weddings, retirements, meaningful stories that impact gameplay. World and town creator, the dream tool, honestly. Being able to design, edit your own neighborhoods from scratch. Active jobs, careers you can play through, follow your parafolk at work, and interact with their day-to-day tasks. Pets and animals, a life sim staple from cats, dogs, to maybe even horses or wild animals. Adding personality, routine, and playful moments that make every household feel more alive. At first glance, do any of those features read as core or expanded? I'll break those down individually, so in the comments, tell me your first initial thoughts thoughts, then let me know if you agree with mine. Like I said, we're really just guessing at the end of the day. I would say these requests seem reasonable for the most part. The tricky part is what counts as core versus expanded gameplay isn't set in stone. It really depends on how each of us interprets the game's vision, the priorities the devs set, and how far they want to push the slow life, cozy creative experience they're building. Okay, now that we've seen what everyone's dreaming about, let's take a closer look at each feature, figuring out what's core, what's expanded, and when we might realistically see it in early access. Story progression. Why do we want it? We want non-played households to grow and change over time, to feel like the world keeps moving even when we're not in direct control. What does it accomplish? Story progression builds immersion. It keeps your pair folk from feeling like the main characters while everyone else is frozen in time. Without it, the world can start to feel static and empty. I'd argue that in Paralives, this sits somewhere close to core gameplay. Technically, unplayed households aren't part of the active life sim loop, but immersion is a huge part of the experience. If nothing changes outside your household, the illusion of a living world starts to fall apart. After a few generations, or honestly even sooner, you'll feel that disconnect. When story progression exists in an open world, it feels like the world is growing with you. Personally, I love it. Even when I'm playing rotationally, I like keeping an eye on other households, seeing the little surprises unfold that I did not plan. When or if will story progression come to Paralives? Not much guessing here. Thankfully, the devs have already told us. It won't be available at initial launch, but it is planned for early access. The official website outlines which features are coming, and story progression is one of those during early access editions. I could be wrong on this, but it feels like those features have probably been in development for a while, but the team's been focused on making sure the essentials are solid for the first release, which makes sense given their goal after the first launch. They'll continue to expand that foundation, or in other words, core gameplay. With this feature specifically, it could lean a bit subjective, so if you guys feel story progression is better described as expanded gameplay, definitely let me know your thoughts. Our perceptions on what Paralives aims to do could be very different. Okay, moving on to something that might be a little more obvious. Multiplayer and co-op mode. Why would we want this? We is a strong assumption, but we'll keep it consistent for the sake of the video. But maybe the want to connect and share our stories could be a big part of it. I could definitely see the appeal of joining a server where all the other households are controlled by different players. Would I want something like this? Not really, but I don't think there's a world if I at least tried it out, I wouldn't get any enjoyment out of it. Is this core or expanded? Now, just from describing a live sim with multiplayer sounds like a different game than Paralives. When you think about Paralives' goal, a slower, more personal take on life simulation, it's clear that even without an online component, the game's core would still stay intact. If multiplayer was ever added to Paralives, I would definitely count this as expanded gameplay. Not necessary, but I guess it could be fun. Could we ever see Paralives be online? Just like most questions about the game, you can find your answers with a little bit of research. On the official website, under the FAQs, you can see that Paralives was developed as a single-player offline game. Even without that confirmation, the impression we get from what's been revealed is that it's not built for online play. Not that there's a specific aesthetic for multiplayer games, they could all look very different, but does anyone else get the vibe just by looking at a game? Vibes aren't the most reliable thing, yet mine have never failed me. I think we have the formula down, core versus expanded, what defines a game and what isn't necessary, but could still add something. Makes it just a bit easier to decipher if your next idea for Paralives is a managed expectation. I mean, really, you can want and ask for anything, but it's better than wanting and being disappointed when your expectations aren't met. Let's go ahead and fly through the other features and see if we can call them out immediately. Teen and child interactions. What we might immediately think of is child and teen specific related interactions. Unique socials, hobbies, story-driven opportunities like sleepovers or running away from home, and even unique personalities. Really, any gameplay that can make these life stages feel distinct from other ages you can play with. Is this core or expanded? I think it really depends on which specific feature you're talking about. If these two life stages interact with the world in ways that reflect where they are in life, that's core gameplay. Things like socials, age-specific activities, or unique animations all fall into that. But once you start talking about sleepovers, running away, after-school programs, or full-on active schools, that's where it shifts into expanded gameplay. You can still argue these features are core since they add valuable depth, and without them, those stages could feel flat. It's that perfect example of expanded gameplay that isn't essential, but it still feels necessary to make the experience feel complete and lasting. Could we see child and teen interactions come to Paralives? The core gameplay, yes, those base interactions are what make a life stage playable in the first place. What I described as expanded gameplay probably won't be there at launch, but I genuinely genuinely be surprised if this kind of content never gets added. I could easily see things like sleepovers or even active schools arriving later as free updates once the full game releases. Active careers. I'll speak for myself when I say this. Active jobs are just fun. I love traveling with my sim to work, completing tasks to progress in their career, and actually putting in work for their next promotion. Hands down, my top favorite active career is the daycare profession from The Sims 3, when it works. When she isn't glitching and bugging out on me, it can feel so realistic. Also, watching those babies grow as you climb the career ladder is the cutest thing. Now, is this core or expanded? If active careers aren't included, Paralives wouldn't be missing anything essential to make it unplayable, so I call this expanded gameplay. When done right, rabbit hole careers can be just as, if not more, rewarding. And I'll say the quiet part out loud. Active careers are fun at first, but eventually I get tired of babysitting my Sims. The way Paralives handles rabbit hole jobs already strikes a great balance between convenience and engagement. With a bit of autonomy, active careers could evolve from fun at first to something that stays genuinely enjoyable, the kind of feature you want to revisit, not one that starts to feel like a chore. When will we see active careers come to Paralives? I keep going back and forth between if and when. I lean toward if because rabbit hole careers seem to be designed with so much replayability that active careers probably aren't planned anytime soon. But then again, when also makes sense. The devs have acknowledged the idea and no players are interested. For now, I'd say active careers aren't a priority for early access, but aren't entirely off the table for the full release. Pets and animals. I mean, immediately dogs, cats, and horses. I think I've said enough to explain why players would want pets. They add so much life and personality to any household. If we ever get minor pets on top of that, even better. They're not essential, but they would bring tons of fun gameplay. Honestly, why would I ever be opposed to that? Now, is this core or expanded? Definitely expanded. You're seeing the pattern, right? Pets wouldn't make or break Paralives, but they definitely enhance it. They'd expand everyday life in the best way possible, adding those wholesome, chaotic little moments. If they're not there at launch, the game won't suffer too much in terms of gameplay value, but let's be honest, we'd still love to see them added eventually. Okay, then when will we see pets? It's probably a good thing they're expected to come during early access. Priorities have been made for that first launch, but the devs plan to develop that valuable gameplay into the base game. Okay, I lied before. Let's actually speed this up. I'm so sorry. I talk too damn much. Worst thing this world ever did was pay me enough to afford a mic. My bad. Okay, life events and milestones, meaning recognized first day of school, weddings, and retirements. I'm 50-50 on this. Having the game recognize a child's first day of school is an incredible idea, but not core gameplay. A way for our pair folk to get married definitely sounds like you'll notice and miss it if it's missing for too long. So core gameplay. Skills. How your pairs learn things sounds pretty core to me. I dare someone to fight me on that. No, I'm sorry. All opinions are welcome. Feel free to prove me wrong though, honestly. Custom towns. I can make an extremely convincing argument why tools to create our own towns is core gameplay, but if I'm using my own logic, it won't really take anything away from the goal of Paralives if we can't. You know, I'm really starting to not like my own logic. But it is what it is. It's expanded gameplay, to me, at least. Again, we're being subjective here. Relationship development. I'm really curious if there even is a live sim that focuses on its characters that can survive without some version of relationship development. I bet you if there is, character connection is probably the game's weakest link. It's giving core to me. And just for fun, supernaturals. This is as expanded expansions get. Do we need it? No. Do we want it? Sure. The devs basically confirm this isn't a priority at any point during the early access phase, though if they do make it work, I'm dying to see Paralives' take on occults. I just know it'll be something crazy unique and I'm here for it. I'm so curious if anyone else can see the vision, the subjective versus objective of possible gameplay that could or could not come to Paralives. The community's been ramping up as we crawl our way toward December 8th, and honestly, everyone's in full-on damage control mode, myself included, because it would be such a shame if this game turns out to be really fun but gets dogpiled over blown out expectations. So with everyone yelling, manage your expectations, I get that some people genuinely don't know where to set them. The goal of this video is to give you a soft landing pad, a way to gauge what your most wanted features for Paralives might realistically fall. Hopefully my attempt at being a little more understanding came through, because I know I can be all fire and brimstone about this game. Seriously, you think Sims loyalists are bad? Well, baby, I'm worse. And I say that while currently brainstorming a more critical video, maybe one where I talk about the sins I side-eye the dev team for, like say craving to the community and adding need bars. I swear I will never forgive them for that. It's gonna take a lot to win back my trust. If you want to see that video, let me know. Or if you think that video should stay locked in the vault, also let me know. Don't let this game be good. I promise you'll be sick of me. Actually, excuse me. That's not a promise. That's a threat. Okay, that's enough. This is a dumb Paralives video, and I know nothing. This is as expanded as expanded expansions. Oh my god. This is as expanded as Oh my god. Who told me to write a tongue twister in the middle of my script? Who told me? Nobody made me do that. Nobody made me do that.